Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer, your host, and we're in luck because we're on the campus at K-State and the agronomy farm, and we're also going to be talking to Dr. Ignacio Ciampetti, our crop specialist, about soybeans. It's that time of the year, so we've got to take this break. Come right back after these words from our sponsors.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer, your host, and we're in luck because we have Dr. Ignacio Ciampetti with us, and we're going to be talking about soybeans. Because, Ignacio, it's time. I know some people probably have already planted by now, but we're going to go through some of the basics and have you tell us what we should be looking for. So, Ignacio, let's talk about planting date right off the bat.
Yeah, well, planting day is one of the big factors, and most if you are looking, to increase soybean yield potential. Let me go back to this point of a yield potential. There are some people that we are trying to maximize, and we have very good weather and environment. So they are
high yield environment.
High yielding environment. So, but when someone is talking about high yields, I'm always asking the question, what do you refer with high yields? And usually we are always trying to say, when we are thinking about high yields, at least we need to talk about 60 or 70 bushels.
That's good.
Can we reach those points? We have a few places across the state that we can reach 70 and sometimes even 80 bushels. The lucky guys that they can get over there. So
right.
For that specific farmers, we know that planting day is critical.
Right.
We have very good information showing anytime that we are anticipating planting, whenever we have good conditions as a soil temperature, we are gaining yields. So anytime that we are delaying that planting time by 1, 2, or 3 weeks, we are seeing that maximum potential yield in soybean is declining.
Starting to slide.
They start to slide. But that brings a point on how early you can go.
Right.
And then soil temperature is one of the main factors.
This spring, its soil temperatures have been fairly warm. Obviously, since January, it's been nice and warm, except for a few days. So the soil temperatures have been fairly warm.
Yeah, but still, if we go back, I think that first weeks of March, and then maybe even mid-March, late March, we still have some situations that the temperatures were going, air temperature changing 20 or 30 degrees in the week.
Right.
Which was immediately impacting soil. The soil with sometimes at 4-inch soil depth, we are seeing variations of 10 degrees.
Really?
Okay?
Yeah.
So that is a big factor. And we were seeing variations in northwest Kansas. We are not seeing much soybean on that area,
You're
but
right.
also in northeast. And that is a moment that we start to say to farmers, be careful, okay? Planting too early, planting when soil temperatures, are the 2 or 4 inches, are below 60 degrees, that will produce some impact. And that soybean will be sitting on the soil for several weeks.
Right,
okay?
right.
And then when the soybean is not reacting, soil temperatures are probably too low, then is when we start to have issues, low emergence, lack of uniformity, and then add to that insects issues, early season, and add also fungus problems.
Yeah, diseases, right.
Diseases like Phytophthora, Fusarium, okay?
Right.
So any kind of dumping off, events that we will have, fungus, early season will be impacting our soybean.
So you're talking about cool, wet conditions.
Exactly.
Okay, hang on here. Folks, we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
I think Blueville does a great job of being educational in nature. They answer people's questions. They do it willingly. So we really appreciate that up close and personal approach that they have and how well they listen to their customers and respond to their needs.
And they're very prompt with things that we need to have done. And so we're very pleased with the service.
It's kind of a one-stop shop for all of your gardening and landscape needs.
HEINEN Brothers, a fourth-generation Northeast Kansas farm family, knows how tough farming can be. Farmers helping farmers. HEINEN Brothers Ag, selling and servicing crop protection products, fertilizer, anhydrous ammonia, cover crops, quality aerial and ground application. Call today to learn about our extended term financing program. 800-760-4964. HeinenBrothersAg.com.
To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agaminkansas.com.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer, and Ignacio Ciampetti didn't run off during the break. Glad you didn't either. So, Ignacio, we talked a little bit about planting dates and make sure it's above 60, the soil temperature is above 60 for a few days, obviously, before you plant. And let's talk now a little bit about plant populations, because I think that's one of one, it can save money if you don't plant too many, but you don't want too little. So talk to us about some of what you're doing, what your thought process is, and some of the research.
Well, this year and the previous year, we were working with several farmers across the state.
Sure.
And in fact, this year we are conducting with the United Soybean Board some on-farm research with farmers. And the main goal when we are conducting the research, applied research with farmers, is like we really want to take a look to how we can minimize and save some input cost. Okay?
Right.
One of the main questions that we have some farmers working on the too high end of the population. So we are talking about sometimes even 150 or 160,000 seeds per acre.
Of course, that's about, in 30-inch rows, that's about 9 seeds per foot a row.
9 seeds per foot.
That's 156,000.
Exactly.
Right.
So our questions is, let's take a look to see if we can work in different seeding rates, 130, 100,000, 120,000, to see which one is our optimum, and not only agronomically speaking, but economically speaking.
Right.
We want to get to the optimum that we are maximizing profits, not only maximizing the yields.
Right.
Which sometimes it's not really on the same point.
Right.
Okay. So what research historically is saying to us is that soybeans, they have ability to compensate. They can compensate small gaps, okay?
Right.
And they can branch if the length of the season is enough. When we are going to late planting, we start facing some issues because, those plants, they have less time to do the compensation process, to start branch.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So in those situations, we know that, pushing population and even going to 10% of the optimal that we are using is a good idea, because we will produce more pods from more plants. Okay?
Right.
But let's go back to the situations that we are facing today. So our research is showing that the populations tend to be connected to yield potential.
Right.
If we're going to 40 bushels or 50 bushels, we are looking about, I would say, 120,000 effective plants. Okay?
Right.
The end of the season. When you're looking less than 30 bushels or 35 bushels, we're looking that with 80,000 plants, we can still make those yields.
Right.
So
now that's the plants at the end of the season. So 80,000, that's right at four plants per foot a row.
Exactly. And when you're looking at, how do I get these numbers and start thinking about seeds per acre? Most of the times we tend to use a 10-15% correction factor. So
Right.
you are going 10-15% extra on the number of seeds when you are planting. And then that's kind of one of the main points that we need to be careful. We don't want to work on the low end, or we don't want to work in the high end. In the high end, we are seeing that we are losing profit because we are still planting way too much soybeans, even when the yields are not really changing much.
Right. They've kind of plateaued.
They are plateaued. And the low end, we need to be careful, because if we are open too much space, if we are not having good uniformity, any conditional planting, we will probably lose some yield.
Yeah, we used to talk about, if you increase the number of seeds per foot a row, they help each other emerge. So if you get too few, they don't necessarily help if you had some crusting.
Yeah, and the other issue that we face there is weed control.
Right, exactly.
And that's one of the main issues on soybean farmers.
We got to take a break. We got more to talk about. Folks, we got lots more to talk about, so stay with us. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. Ignacio Ciampetti, our crop specialist here at K-State, is still with us. And Ignacio, let's talk a little bit about row spacing. That's always a question that I used to get about should I narrow the row spacing or keep it in 30 inches? What's your take on row spacings now?
Well, I mean, row spacing is a critical factor when you are thinking about, increasing yields and maximizing your yield potential.
Right.
And the main thing that we are explaining when we are talking about yield, narrow rows is helping us to cover, close the canopy earlier, and the idea of intercepting more light. And the light interception is easy, and the question is more light interception tends to be connected to more yields.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Because it's basically what we are doing is increasing the duration of the crop.
Right.
That crop has more time intercepting light. What happens sometimes on the wide row spacing is, we are seeing sometimes those canopies that are still open even until the end of the season.
Like last year.
Like last year, we were seeing exactly several situations, canopies that they never close. Okay, so and from there, just by watching those plants, that we are missing yields.
Right.
So when you are thinking narrow rows, one of the big factors is your yield potential. So when you are looking at more than 50 bushels
potential
for your environment, it makes a lot of sense to work in narrow rows.
Right.
Because we can capture more yields.
Right.
And last year we have very nice 3 or 4 different farmers working across different areas of the state, and we were capturing sometimes between 2 to 5 bushels by just only narrowing rows.
Right.
And some of the questions are, that doesn't seem to be a big difference, right?
Right, right.
But then when you talk to the farmers, main thing that was coming to their mind was like not only the yield advantage, but also the weed control.
Exactly, because you're covering. Go ahead.
You are covering early in the season, so you are leaving less opportunity for those weeds to come out.
Yeah, you're suppressing them.
You are suppressing them, and then I think that the farmers were looking at that as a kind of another tool that they have on the toolbox to make sure that they are more efficient in controlling weeds.
Right.
And you are saving inputs.
Right.
So when they put this into the equation, they start to think about, okay, it's not only just my yield advantage if I have it, but it's also how much are saving on using herbicides.
Right, so you can cut down possibly one application.
Exactly.
Okay.
But I'm always talking to farmers and say, if you're on the lower end of yields, when you are going to dryland conditions, below 40 bushels, is that a good idea to narrow rows? And most of the times on the drought conditions we are looking at, it's not tend to be a good idea on narrow rows.
But it's not a negative necessarily. It's usually equal to 30 inch.
Exactly.
Right.
But our thought, in the process is, if you narrow rows, those plants, they tend to compete early in the season, they produce more roots, and then we see
surface.
Exactly, and we see that they are taking up more nutrients and water early in the season.
Right.
When those plants are reaching flowering, they are running out of water.
So let me paraphrase that. If you use the narrow rows, that's not necessarily saying that in drought conditions they're going to yield lower than 30 inches. You're just saying that because of the root proliferation, the narrow canopy, they may show drought stress a few days earlier than the wide rows.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Hang on, we got to take a break. Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer. Ignacio Ciampetti is with us, and Ignacio, we'll be talking about row spacing, plant population. One thing that comes to my mind is maturity groups. That's always an issue of planting early, planting late, after wheat harvest, that sort of thing. So let's talk about maturity groups in soybeans and kind of what's your thought process.
Well, it's a very kind of a good question that we have from farmers. Last year, for example, we have several farmers talking to us to think about the idea of changing maturity group because they were going late. If you remember last growing season, we have several days of rain.
Oh yeah, finally started raining in May.
Yeah, this season is looking quite similar for next coming weeks in terms of rain, so we might probably be ending on having a lot of calls from farmers about, okay, should I move my planting maturity group or not? And at what point you make the decision of changing your maturity group.
Right.
So if you look at the state of Kansas, we have some kind of a nice separation between group 3, group 4, and we have some group 5 in southeast, right?
Southeast,
and then when you are looking to optimal maturity groups, we are conducting studies in five locations across the state since 2014, which has put some of that information in our agronomy update. What are we finding? Main things is like when we are going to East Central and when we are looking at maximum yield potential, we are always working on early 3s or late 3s, okay? When we are going to more South Central, we are always trying to work more with groups 4, and sometimes even mid-4s. And then when we are going to Southeast, that's a different total story, of course.
Some 4s, but mainly 5s.
Exactly. So we are also just playing with some 5.2 or mid-5s, okay? There is one main point that we need to make sure is clear, is when we are working with maturity groups, planting day is also a factor interacting.
Right.
And most of the times we see that if we are delaying planting a month, is when we start to see some benefits of potentially changing our maturity groups.
But you're not talking about going from group 4 to a group 2 or early group 3. You're talking staying within the
changes are
minute.
Oh, really? Yeah. When we are, let's put an example. So we are working with a farmer in Topeka, so we are selecting maturity groups. For a planting that was first week of May, we were using a group 4, okay? When some of the rain was delaying our planting time in some of the areas, and then we received a call, and he was asking about when will be the optimum time, and he was getting very close to mid-June.
Oh, okay.
Late June.
Right.
Okay, in that case, we have some information showing that if you go to group 3.5, okay, it might be an opportunity to still get the crop to finalize, but not really lose too much yield potential.
Right.
Because if you go too short, you need to be careful. You are losing yields.
Well, I think if memory serves me right, if you jump maturity groups too far, what happens is the plant flowers too soon.
Exactly.
And you're not producing very many nodes.
Exactly.
And that's where the pods are.
You are reducing your yield potential. If you don't have nodes, you don't have pods. If you don't have pods, you don't have yields.
Okay. Hang on here. We gotta take a break. Folks, we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it, and it worked. And I'm not going to go out and dig trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer. With us is Ignacio Ciampenti, our row crop specialist at K-State. Ignacio, we've talked about a wide range of things there. Let's talk about some of the problems that we often face with soybeans. Planted too wet, too early, too cool, too dry, what have you. So let's talk a little bit about some of the problems that producers need to be watching for, prior to planting, at planting, and shortly thereafter.
So one of the things that I'm always like to talk to farmers is about the idea of thinking that one of the critical stages for soybean development and yield formation is planting.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? I mean, it's the way that the soybeans are coming out of the ground. It's quite different when you compare with any kind of a corn, wheat, even sorghum. So I'm always trying to emphasize the problem. Compaction or not really good planting conditions are one of the main factors affecting yields on soybeans.
I think compaction is much underplayed. I've seen it in all the crops, but soybeans can particularly be hurt with compaction, nodulation.
Compaction is, problems of nodulation, root formation, lack of, really good anchorage in the plant. And another thing is that the roots they are not really forming very well. They're not really taking up nutrients.
Yeah, so you can run into some nutrient deficiencies.
Nutrient deficiencies, poor nodulation, and also another thing that is critical, some people tend to think that is stress environment. You will see any condition of lack of rain right away.
Right, because of the lack of proliferation of the root system.
Exactly, and sometimes, what I'm emphasizing to our farmers is you may probably think that everything was fine at planting time, and you may probably don't see any issue. The plants are coming out, everything looks quite okay, and the moment that the soybeans start to increase the demand of nutrients, water, is the moment that you will start to see those deficiencies.
Right.
You will never be seeing any nodulation problem probably early in the season. Most of the nodulation problems, you will be seeing those issues in July or August.
Right.
When the soybeans start really to take up a lot of nutrients. Similar situation will be on drought. You probably have only 1 week of a really dry weather with heat, combining with heat temperature, and then you will see basically that plant is showing any kind of a drought symptoms deficiency. Is that a droughty condition? No. Those roots are not really proliferating and they are really restricted to the first section of the soil profile.
Right.
So the best way, we did that with several farmers in the past. We just dig some plants and you start to see that the roots are very shallow.
Right.
So other things that they will translate everything at the end of the season, charcoal rot, any problems on the seeds at the end of the season, even lodging situations. Last year we have a lot of problems, in some fields.
Right.
Plants that they were not standing in the field.
Right.
Because of a really poor conditions on planting. So I'm always suggesting to farmers, make sure that you plant your soybeans in the best soil bed possible.
Right.
If
and that doesn't mean tilling the soil though.
No. It means that just to make sure that we have good soil conditions, proper temperature.
Right.
That's all. If I need to wait 1 week, just do it.
It's better to maybe let it dry just a fraction or
just a fraction to make sure that
temperature go up just a fraction.
Yeah, exactly right.
Ignacio, thank you for taking time for these little tidbits on soybeans. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Folks, thanks for being with us. And don't forget, next time about this same time on Friday mornings, there'll be another issue of That's My Farm. See you then.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamинkansas.com.